Danielle Timmons, she is a Dementia Adviser working with Alzheimer Society, has a background in occupational therapy and social care. Danielle joined the Alzheimer Society of Ireland in May of this year and provides post-diagnostic support to people living with dementia, their families and carers in County Meath. She also liaises with health and social care professionals and community groups to facilitate an integrated dementia care pathway and to help reduce the stigma associated with dementia. So Danielle, she's there, and you can come up now, thank you.
Hello, good morning everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, perfect. I just want to say a big thank you to Anya for inviting me over to the event today. So as Anya has mentioned, I am a Dementia Adviser working with the Alzheimer Society, and I was recently appointed in June of this year. So I work across all of County Meath, from Bettystown to Meath to Trim. So anybody who's living with a diagnosis of dementia or who are worried about their memory can give me a call, and I can kind of signpost people to services. So today, I suppose I want to give a brief overview of what dementia is, and then just a little bit about how you can keep your brain healthy and active, and I suppose reduce your risk of developing dementia in later years. So I suppose with my job, I get quite a lot of questions around what the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's is, and that's probably one of the most common things that people ask. So I just want to go through. So dementia will be the overall term to describe a range of conditions that can damage your brain, and Alzheimer's will be a type of dementia. So if you see the umbrella there up on the screen on the right hand side, dementia is at the top, Alzheimer's is the type, Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, and frontotemporal dementia. So if you're trying to think of the differences, try and think of this umbrella. At the moment, and we know that there's over 400 subtypes of dementia, which is incredible. Unfortunately, I don't know them all. We're still developing. So when we think of dementia, we often think about the short-term memory loss, but actually it's much more than that. Somebody might not be presenting actually with short-term memory loss as the initial symptom, so actually it might affect somebody's thinking and how they think and how they process information. Even at an event today, it can be really, really overwhelming if somebody has a diagnosis of dementia. So I suppose when you're trying to think of the symptoms and signs, it can also affect somebody's communication. They might not be able to find the words to describe things. They might recognise things, but maybe not be able to tell you what that thing is. So that's another kind of typical symptom and sign that it's good to look out for. The other thing as well, performing everyday tasks is really important to look out for. So if you say somebody who maybe has gone to Navan for the last 40 years and had their own little routine, used to go to the shop, to Tesco and then back on the bus, but if that is beginning to slip a little bit, you just need to be aware that that could be a sign and symptom. The short-term memory might be fine, but actually their kind of orientation of kind of familiar spots may be a symptom that you could look out for. At the moment in Ireland, well, we're still trying to get the newest statistics, there's over 64,000 people living with dementia in Ireland. And before I came here yesterday, I was looking at the statistics for Meath, and this is from 2020. We're still waiting on the updated statistics. There's over 2,000 people living with dementia in Meath, of what we know. And that number is it's going to increase because we have an ageing population, and that is one of the risk factors for developing dementia. So it's just good to be aware of that. So I suppose I kind of touched on this just a little bit, and it's just some of the things to look out for. So as the most common one, short-term memory loss, and this is particularly for somebody who's living with maybe an Alzheimer's diagnosis. That'd be one of the kind of primary symptoms that you would kind of notice. Difficulty managing money is another kind of classic symptom, and an interest in hobbies. So say if somebody who loved golf had done it for the last 40 years and decided, actually, do you know what, I'm not really interested in that anymore. That could be a symptom of a dementia, where somebody can maybe become a little bit more, I suppose, selective in what they engage in, and as well problems with their language. Then we've kind of touched on that as well. They may not be able to find the words, or they may be not able to remember the name of their loved one, their daughter or their wife. Repeating a story is another kind of classic symptom as well, I suppose over several times. And the reason why that is a symptom is that when someone develops a dementia diagnosis, they're not able to actually, for their short-term memory, is not able to be transferred and stored as long-term. So that's why you might see that symptom. So I suppose in terms of what are the steps for taking with the diagnosis, what I will say is all them previous signs and symptoms, they could be symptoms of other things, like an infection, anxiety, medication, or vitamin deficiency. So what I would say, if anyone is presenting with any of those symptoms, please just go get them checked, because it may not be a dementia. So say if all them things have been ruled out, you go to your GP, all those things have been ruled out, like infection or maybe a reaction to medication. The GP might send you on for further tests. They might send you to the memory clinic, and we have one in Navan, there's one in Drogheda, and then there's one up in the Holiday Ward in Blanchardstown. It depending on what area of Meath you are living in, your GP will refer you on to there. And they might do a brain scan, they might do a physical examination of bloods, urine samples, a cognitive screen, which would be a test to just check your orientation, and then a functional assessment. So what a functional assessment would be is your ability maybe to make a cup of tea for yourself, or to be able to make a meal for yourself. So that would all be checked, and then once all that information is gathered, and maybe a collateral from your family, then they'll be able to assess whether a dementia diagnosis is made or not. So why is it important to keep your brain healthy? And I suppose this is kind of the main point I'm trying to get across today, really. So there is a new batch of research that means that called cognitive reserve, and I'm not sure if anyone has heard about that before. So cognitive reserve is basically making your brain really, really strong. If a dementia process was to occur, a dementia journey, that your brain will be more able to withstand damage. So what the research has shown is that while there might be the damage in different areas of a person's brain, the degree of damage doesn't mean the degree of impairment. So if somebody was challenging their brain, if they had a good diet, if they exercised, they had a lot of sleep, there's 5 factors which I'll go through in a minute. If all them factors were present before a dementia diagnosis was made, they would be more resilient to that damage. So if you compare 2 people's brains who had a dementia diagnosis, and they maybe have the same damage, but they generally might not have the same impairment, because basically their brain is still able to make new connections and form those new connections to make their brain really strong. And I suppose it's the same principle really. If somebody has become unwell but they've been physically active, or they have had a good diet all their life, their ability to kind of recover is much stronger. And I suppose we'll go through those 5 things you can do to keep your brain healthy and active, and we can go through these now. Yep, so keep moving, keep your heart healthy, spend time with family and friends, incredibly important, and this was especially limited during COVID. Try something new and get enough sleep is very, very important. So I'll go through each individual one now. So exercise. So as you know, this has been the age-old thing. I suppose exercise is really, really important. It's to increase basically your blood flow to the brain and help your brain create new connections. I suppose the guidelines at the moment is 30 minutes per day, kind of moderate exercise is really important. Get that your heart pumping and that blood to the brain, and it becomes more resilient. Sit less, stand more. I suppose, is there anything that you can do, instead of sitting? Is it, the remote is right beside you, can you get up and get the remote across the, is your alarm beside your bed, can you get up and turn that off? It's all these little changes. Can you think of anything like that you could do in order to stand more? And then just kind of promote that movement every day. TV, it's great, and I think what's really important is that the brain gets time to relax, but the brain can get a bit lazy. If we're constantly looking at TV, looking at screens, looking at phones, your brain is not making new connections, and actually the connections it's already made becomes a little bit slower. So it's really important can you go out more instead of watching TV? TV is great, but maybe can you just do it in the evening and maybe go out for a walk during the day? Trying to build these things into your daily routine. Do an exercise that you enjoy. I suppose this is crucial. If you start doing something that you don't enjoy, the likelihood is you're not going to keep it up. So pick one thing that you really, really, really enjoy, or something maybe you've done previously. Try and build that into your routine. And then balance and exercise are really good to keep you strong and healthy as well, such as yoga and Pilates, but they're also really good for your mental health too. So the next one is, I suppose, keep your heart healthy, and I suppose a healthy heart is a healthy brain, effectively. And I suppose this is all tied in, I suppose, to keeping yourself active and busy. With the blood pressure, I suppose this is really important to kind of highlight that one of the risk factors of development of vascular dementia is high blood pressure. So trying to get that under control, and trying to, even if you're feeling like you aren't getting any headaches or anything like that, please do get it checked. It is one of the risk factors. And I suppose it actually affects the blood pumping to your brain to keep it healthy and to keep those connections being made. I suppose another thing to keep your heart healthy is your diet, which is very important. And I suppose the research has continually said that a Mediterranean diet is very good. So that'll be high in fish, oily fishes, vitamins, fruit as well, and I suppose less red meat and sugar. And that's a hard thing to stand here to say because this is an Irish diet sometimes, lots of red meat. But if we can just maybe reduce it a little bit and increase on the oily fishes, that'll be much better for your brain health. Check your weight. When people have a little bit more weight on them, it actually puts pressure on the heart and reduces the blood flow to the brain. So that's why we're really trying to get that message across about a healthy heart is a healthy brain. Spend time with family and friends, and I kind of mentioned earlier, COVID had a really massive impact on that. And when we spend time with family and friends, we're actually building new connection within our brain. So even like an event today, we're all sitting here, your brain is on overdrive, there's so much going on, there's people speaking, you're meeting new people around, you're trying to, will I say something now, will I say something later? So you're constantly trying to gauge the environment, and your brain is busy, it's trying to figure it out. Even where's the bathroom? You know, your brain is trying to problem solve that whole time, it's trying to build all these new connections. And this building might be familiar to some people, but then I came in here this morning and it's all been painted and done up. So like, wow, so that then my brain was going. So it's really important to get out. And I suppose to talk to family and friends that things about that's made important to you, and I suppose what's happening in your life at the moment. And I suppose that's a really good conversation starter. And try to meet people in person. And I know it's difficult with COVID still around, but where possible, even try. I see the active retirement is here today. Like that's a really, really good group in order to, you know, trying to get out and about. And I suppose get active with family and friends. And I suppose you're getting the two elements there. You're being active, but you're also socialising with people, which is really important. Try something new. I always try to get, is there anything that anyone in this room has always wanted to try, but it's like, oh no, I'll put it off, I'll do it another time. When you try something new, you're building new connections within your brain, you're strengthening your brain. And when those new connections are made, some parts of your brain are actually expanding and exploring. So I don't know if everyone remembers when you're trying to learn to drive a car, your brain, oh, you're so tired, and you're trying to, oh God, I just need 5 minutes. So that's your brain building new connections. And I suppose learning together is really important as well. Sleep is a massive thing for brain health actually, and when we actually sleep and rest, we're actually getting rid of the toxins that build up in our brain over the time, over our day. I don't know if anyone has been tired, you're not functioning very well, you might not be able to think. So things to help, I suppose, get you enough sleep is go to bed at the same time, develop a routine, avoid tea or coffee, avoid electrical devices, because with blue lights in like phones and laptops, it actually prevents you producing the hormone called melatonin, which helps you sleep, which helps you get over to sleep. And I suppose make sure your bedroom is nice, warm, and not cluttered. That can really promote sleep as well. Well, the one main message I want to get across today, there's a lot of information there, just one muscle built in a day, one step at a time. Try to make one small change, which is really important, and then build on that. So I have some Brain Health Matters leaflets at the bottom of the table there, so if anyone wants to pick them up, but they're the 5 key messages of keep moving, keep your heart healthy, spend time with family and friends, try something new, and get enough sleep. These are great resources. Understand Together is a website, kind of explains a little bit about dementia and also about brain health, of things you can do to keep your brain healthy and active. And Hello Brain is an EU initiative, and it gives you a bit of information about the brain and some things you could do to challenge it and keep it well. I work as a Dementia Adviser in the county, so if anybody here is worried about their health, or maybe they know somebody living with dementia who needs a little bit of support, feel free to take my number. I have the leaflets down the bottom as well of the room, so you can take it. So, questions? Yeah? Yeah. Sorry, I was just checking I had enough time, I didn't run over. So look, I appreciate this is kind of a sensitive topic. So I'm happy to take questions from the room, but if people wanted to maybe have a chat with me afterwards, that's absolutely fine too. So if there's any general questions that anybody wants to ask, feel free. Thank you very much, and thanks to Anya for inviting me over today.